Hey guys, and welcome to today's video. So today I'm going to be doing a review of the newest Natasha Denona 15 pan palette, and it is called the Zendo eyeshadow palette. So if you want to learn more about this newest Natasha Denona eyeshadow palette, watch a tutorial and see my final review, then keep on watching. So as I said, this is a summer palette, as obviously the summer months are approaching very quickly. So it is a warm toned palette, and I will have swatches of this palette up close at the end of the video. If that's something you're interested in, then stay tuned for that. This is inspired by the Mini Zendo, which is her mini, I believe, is it the newest one? It was either the newest one or the one before the newest one, if that makes sense. But she does have a Mini Zendo palette. I think she typically comes out with a mini and a full size for each of her color stories. So like she has a mini glam and a glam palette. She has a mini love story, although I guess she doesn't have a full size love story palette, but she has the love palette from 2 Valentine's days ago. She does typically have a large palette and then a mini palette that kind of are similar in terms of color story, which I do really like. So if you're not interested in getting this big palette that is obviously more expensive, then you can get the mini one and still have the same kind of color story, which I do love. Last year's summer palette was the bronze palette, and I really did like it, but it was quite basic in terms of color story. It basically was just warm toned browns and bronze kind of golden champagne metallics, and I don't think too many people were impressed with it. I personally loved it because I like that color story for especially the summer months. But if you're looking for something a little bit more unique, a little bit more different, I think this is definitely the summer palette that you would be interested in. As you can see, quite warm toned and the majority of the palette. So I'd say about 2/3 of the palette is quite warm toned, and then you can see these nice kind of turquoise and greenish bluish hues that are popped in there are a little bit more cooler toned, which is kind of nice. I think you could do a ton with this palette, whereas some of her other palettes you're a little bit more limited because they're not quite as unique. So if you're looking for something with a little bit more color this summer, this would definitely be the one just from first glance. Obviously we have to test it before I give you a final opinion. So that's what we're gonna do now. I'm gonna go ahead and just play around with it, and then I will come back and give you my final opinion. And I will kind of walk you through what I'm doing just in case you want to follow along. So I have started by prepping my eyelids with MAC Paint Pot, and then I did go ahead and set that down with just a cream colored powder. If you have seen my channel before, you will know that I absolutely love Natasha Denona's eyeshadow. Her quality is really incredible. The mattes are super pigmented, super blendable, really probably one of the top in terms of quality in my opinion, in my personal opinion. And her metallics are just stunning. Really unique. She has a lot of duochromes, even triochromes. She has some really unique shades, and they're really pigmented, light reflective. Everything you'd want in eyeshadow, it's typically in her eyeshadow. Obviously, I have to, test it, but I usually am not too concerned about quality. So let's go in first. I'm going to mix this shade Balance with the shade Relief. So the Balance is like a warm toned brown, and Relief is like a peachy shade, peachy kind of coral shade. And I'm just gonna go in the crease with a fluffy brush. This is an IT Cosmetics brush. I don't even know what it's called. It's a dual ended one, but it's just kind of like a fluffier brush. And let's pop that in the crease. So as you can see, like super pigmented, and they almost blend themselves. So I'm just kind of buffing this in circular motions throughout the crease, getting it kind of to the pigmentation that I want, and then I'm gonna blend it out. And I am gonna go a little bit more glam today. Number one, I just like to play around and I find it fun, but also because I like to test as many of the shadows as I can to really determine whether I think the quality is consistent with her other, formulas. And I also just like to see, what the palette can do. But if you're interested in a more everyday look, something a little bit more usable, wearable, and a little bit easier, let me know in the comments down below, because I can do that for you guys. It would probably be over on my Instagram page, like maybe do a reel or something. I might start doing that more often because I have a lot of products to review right now. And I also have my new season of the Get Ready With Me in TV coming up. I started a new series on my channel, and it was basically where I get ready. It's like a Get Ready With Me, but I focus more on talking about a TV show that I'm basing that season on. So every season of my new series will base it on a new TV show, and it will basically be me just kind of going over what happened and like reviewing the episode, kind of talking about the drama. So far I've done the final season of Keeping Up with the Kardashians, but I actually just stopped it because it was too boring to really do. Not that the show's boring, it's just I don't think it was the right show. There was really not that much going on. So I actually announced that I was stopping that over on my Instagram channel. So if you were watching that and don't have me on Instagram, you probably were wondering why I stopped, but it just wasn't interesting enough. So long story short, I am going to be starting that up again with the new season of The Bachelorette that's coming up in June. June 7th it comes on, so I'm going to post the first episode on the Thursday, which will be the 10th, I believe. So if you're interested in The Bachelorette, I'm going to come here, get ready, and I'm going to just talk about the episode, but I'm also going to use something within the episode to inspire my look, and then it's your job to guess. Yeah, long story short, that's coming up as well, and that is one of my videos every week until the season is over. So if you want a more everyday look, it'll be over on my Instagram page. So let me know down below if that's something you'd be interested in. So I really like the way these shades combined. It makes like a nice kind of pinky brown. I really like that. I'm just kind of buffing it inward so that there's no harsh lines, and then just making sure there's not too much excess product. I'm gonna take this and just kind of buff the edges, just little circular motions with no additional product. Just gonna kind of work the product out and kind of diffuse it so that there's no harsh lines. So see how that just blends like perfectly, like effortless. I'm gonna actually go in with a more precise brush. I'm gonna use a pencil brush. This one's by Morphe. I don't know if this collection, this is like a little brush collection. I don't know if it's still available, but it's basically just a pencil brush. So you could find one in your collection if you're following along this tutorial. You could just find one that's kind of like that. It's just like more precise at the tip. And I'm gonna take the shade Mindful, which is the top left, and it looks like a metallic, but it doesn't look like it's super like light reflective. It just kind of looks really, really creamy. So I'm going to use that to kind of smudge along the lash line, just on the outer half. Oh yeah, that's nice. It is a little bit warmer than it looked in the pan, but that's okay. And then I'm gonna bring it up and to kind of carve out the shape that I want. So I'm gonna start just by kind of creating the shape, and then I'll start to kind of blend it in. I'm just gonna buff that in to the existing shade. So I just wanted to add a little bit more like definition, and that blended in really nice as well. Oh, I'm liking how this is going. Now let's start by adding some of these cooler tones, like the greens and the blues. I'm gonna go into the shade Zeal, which is kind of like a cargo green, like kind of like a sagey green. I'm actually going to use the brush on the other end of the It Cosmetics brush, so it's just like a flat kind of shader. It's going to be really precise as well. You could even just stick with the pencil brush. And what I'm going to do, I think, is kind of go over where I put that brown before. Oh, that's a nice green. I'm not a huge green eyeshadow fan for like, especially for like every day, but if I'm gonna do it, I love like a good sagey green, like a cool toned green. And then I'm gonna go back with my pencil brush into Mindful, which was that metallic brown. And I'm gonna go over, like sitting it on top of the green, so it kind of helps blend it and diffuse it out. So I'm gonna take the shade Sense, which seems to be kind of bronzy with like a pink golden shift, I think. And I'm just gonna apply that all on the lid. That's such a rich color. I really, really like that. Okay, let's start by taking this green, same sagey green, and I'm gonna start by pressing it on the lower lash line. And I'm gonna go to about halfway. And then when I go to halfway, I'm just gonna kind of have a lighter hand and just buff it inwards so that it kind of diffuses inwards and softens. I'm actually going to take this pencil brush with this mint green, which is called Breath, and I'm going to place that on the edge so that it kind of softens that sagey green, because I almost want it like a cooler toned lower lash line, if that makes sense. I'm actually going to take a little bit of a fluffier brush so that we get a little bit of a more diffused look rather than a, more precise look. Yeah, That's better. And it's super subtle, like it's not the most pigmented shade. You know, you could probably build it or use it on the lid or something and it would be more pigmented, but I just want it to kind of be really subtle to blend that green out. Let's take the shade Mantra. I'm just trying to use as many shades as possible without going too overboard. I'm gonna take the shade Mantra because it has a little bit more blue to it. Yeah, that's a little bit more bright. Place it a little bit lower. I know I'm kind of going over that mint green, but I want to bring in the blues here. So now let's use these metallics. First, let's take the shade Equilibrium, I believe is how you pronounce that one. And this looks like a darker blue with almost like a teal metallic shift. And I am going to take it on kind of like a tight lining brush like this. And I'm going to pop it in the center. I'm going to take the shade Flow, which is this lighter blue metallic. I'm going to do that and like almost like the inner part of the lower lash line, but I think I'm going to wet it because I want it to kind of be brighter and see how much more pigmented it is when you spray it. Okay, so I really love those blues as well. I definitely am glad I kind of played with those because they're fun. And then what I'm gonna actually do is take this shade Balance just to kind of tie it into the look. And I am gonna take this brush here that I used for the mint green, and I'm gonna take that kind of warm brown, and I'm gonna just really lightly kind of blend underneath so that it kind of ties it all in. I really, really, really am loving this palette. Definitely gonna be one I'm gonna be playing with more for sure. Now we're gonna take the shade Yama, which I was super excited to play with because I'm really, like, I just love this shade. This is one of her like duo triochromes. Who knows? Maybe it's a quadruple chrome. Who knows? With Natasha Denona. But I'm gonna place this in the center of the lid, and no, I'm not flipping you guys off. I just like to use my middle finger for it. And I'm placing it in the center. So number one, love this shade. It is a light peach bronze with green reflex. So this is also why I picked this, because number one, it's like super incredible shade. It has that warm tone golden peach kind of, you know, similar to the upper, you know, lid that I did, but it also has a green reflex. So it's gonna kind of tie into the whole look. And I'm placing it in the center of the lid. And I feel like that shade really just helps the palette come all together. You know, the fact that it has those peachy warm tones, but also the reflection of green, it really just plays off the whole entire palette. And I think that that really actually makes the palette so much more like harmonious, if that makes sense. And it's literally so stunning. Okay, just for fun here, I'm gonna grab like a flat brush and I'm gonna grab some of that Yama. I'm gonna wet it just for fun. Let's see how bright we can get it. I mean, the finger usually can do the trick, but see this? So pretty. Honestly, I can never get over Natasha Denona's eyeshadow palettes. And like her liquid shadows, can we give a shout out? Her Triochrome liquid shadow, I only have one of them. I have the Infra Nude. It is my go-to if I want a quick eyeshadow look that also looks super glam. I just do like a simple crease and then I just pop that on the lid and we're done. You know, it's just so stunning. Now what I'm gonna do is take my first brush, the It Cosmetics, the fluffy side, and mix Balance and Relief, the brown and the peach, or coral, whatever. I'm just gonna go kind of over it so that we have no harsh lines. I don't even think I want eyeliner today. And I love eyeliner. I'm an eyeliner girl. Ooh, I love this palette. I mean, I just kind of want to do an eyebrow highlight. I don't really think that any of these shades are light enough. I'm gonna take just the lightest amount of that Yama, which is a duochrome. But this is a glam look, so let's do it. Oh yeah, it's gonna work. If you just don't go too heavy, it definitely has that green shift. This is more of like a glam look, but if you wanted to do a brow bone highlight and you don't find one in this palette, because there's not really one light enough for fair skin tones, because this gold luster is absolutely stunning, but it's quite dark for a brow bone. You could kind of just do a really soft application. It would totally work. Or you can go in with Yama, which is the one I did with the green shift. And if you just do a really light kind of layer of it, it will work, but it will have that green shift. So if you don't like that, then I just recommend using your highlight that you used on your face, and you can just pop that on the brow bone. That's what I do all the time if I don't really have an inner, a brow bone highlight in a palette. Let's pop that in the inner corner. Can't get enough of that shade. All right, well, I would say that's just about all I'm gonna do for this look. Does it not just look so pretty? I'm obsessed. I'm definitely happy with the look I created. It's different, but I really like it. It's different, but it's not like too different. It is expensive. It's $65 US, and it is $87 or $86 Canadian. So it's expensive. What I would recommend is if you're interested in a Natasha Denona palette, and you're looking for something with a little bit of color, more warmer tones, a good summer palette, I would definitely recommend this. If it's something you want to invest in, save up for, if you love Natasha Denona's eyeshadow, I definitely love the color story. If it's a color story you could kind of get down with and play with and you think you would utilize, I don't think you'll be disappointed. The quality's there. The colors really tie into each other. I think it's a beautifully thought out palette. I definitely think I would want to do like a ranking video of all my Natasha Denona palettes. Comment below if you'd like that, because that's something that I could totally do for you guys. And I would really be interested in seeing what I end up with my choices. But this I think would definitely be in the top because it's just so unique, yet still very everyday usable. I'm gonna go ahead and just pop on some mascara to finish up the look, and I will be right back. Okay guys, so that is the finished look. The mascara really pulled everything together, and I'm honestly so over the moon about this palette. Looking at it, it's a very well put together palette. There's a lot of potential, a lot of room to play, yet you do get those, you know, enough matte and enough light enough shades that you can do some everyday looks. I definitely think it's one that is more on the side of like uniqueness, more on the side of play. I don't think it's going to be like the most everyday look. So if you're like a super, super basic minimalist everyday, barely any color, I don't think this one's going to be the one for you. I definitely would recommend other palettes, whether Natasha Denona or otherwise. But if you like the color scheme of this, she's an A+, guys. I'm really impressed. So yeah, that's my final review. I definitely recommend it. If you want an everyday look with this palette, that like even more natural than this, like let me know if you want another tutorial with this and what you want, and I can definitely do that for you guys. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, guys. Thank you so much if you do. Welcome to the little family, and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you guys are all well, and I will see you guys next time. Stay tuned for swatches. Bye.